Level 1. Class D. Expendable material. Your story in the SCP Foundation doesn't begin with a job interview or a handshake. It begins with you being dragged out of a federal death row cell and offered a deal. They tell you, sign this document, and you won't be executed. Instead, you'll be transferred to a classified facility where you'll perform simple tasks. You agree? Because the alternative is a lethal injection. They hand you an orange jumpsuit stamped D9341 and walk you down corridors that don't exist on any map in the world. Your simple tasks are to enter containment chambers first, chambers that killed every previous volunteer. You're a living probe, a sensor made of flesh and blood. Scientists watch you through reinforced glass 8 inches thick. They record what happens to your body when you touch an object that defies the laws of physics. If you're a survivor, they get data. If you don't, they get different data. The Foundation doesn't care either way. At the end of every month, they inject you with a Class B amnestic, a powerful compound that wipes your entire short-term memory. You wake up in your cell, remembering nothing. Not a single experiment, not a single creature, not a single scream, and it all starts over. The most terrifying part, you might have been here for years and have no idea. As far as the outside world is concerned, you simply don't exist. Your file is closed. Your family received a death notice, and to everyone you know, you're dead. But the paradoxical truth is that without thousands like you, the Foundation's science would grind to a halt. Every death or survival of yours is a line of data that will one day save millions of lives. You are the foundation on which the entire system protecting humanity stands, and you will never know it. Think about it. If you were offered a choice between a guaranteed execution and a life without memory in an underground labyrinth, what would you choose? From a sterile cell with no windows, we climb several floors higher to where people came by choice. Level 2. Junior Researcher. First contact. You're a brilliant graduate of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with a doctoral degree in quantum physics. You were recruited by a man who introduced himself as a defense contractor head. He didn't lie. He just told you roughly 1% of the truth. You signed so many non-disclosure agreements that your hand went numb. Your clearance. Level 2 restricted. You're allowed to know that anomalies exist, but you're forbidden from knowing why the Foundation collects them. You walk through the lab in a white coat, and your job is to assist the senior scientists. You hand them instruments. Keep the logs and watch as Class D personnel walk into chambers they sometimes never walk out of. The smell of formaldehyde and antiseptic seeps into your skin so deep you can smell it, even in the shower. You write reports about what you've seen, but you're forbidden from drawing your own conclusions. If you write, "I believe the object is sentient," you'll be summoned before a disciplinary board. At this level, you're the hands, not the thinking head. But your value to the Foundation is already real. You're a fresh mind, unspoiled by decades of working with the impossible. It's the junior researchers who most often spot the patterns that veterans miss because they've grown used to them. From the senior staff's perspective, you're a naive intern who asks too many questions, but it's your question that might one day prevent a catastrophe. If you discovered that the object you're working with was sending you intelligent signals, would you report it to your superiors, risking your career? Or would you start your own secret investigation? By the way, while you're thinking about your answer, the Foundation needs to relay you a message with O5 level clearance. The YouTube algorithm is an unclassified anomaly that devours channels not receiving feedback from viewers. Every like you leave is a containment measure. Every comment is a safety protocol, and a subscription is a full contract with the Foundation. Without you, this video will be declassified and destroyed by the algorithm. Hit subscribe and write in the comments, which Foundation rank would you choose for yourself? Now let's keep climbing. From the laboratory walls, we step beyond the facility into the territory where the Foundation hides in plain sight. Level 3. Field Agent. Eyes and ears. You no longer wear a white coat. You wear an ordinary suit, a local detective's badge, and a cover story you've memorized by heart. You're a field agent of the SCP Foundation, embedded in a police precinct, a hospital, or a regional FBI field office. Your mission is to monitor strange events and be the first to recognize anomalous activity. When the police radio reports a bizarre incident, you switch on your recorder and drive there first. You're not armed to the teeth, and you don't wear an You carry a service pistol, an encrypted phone, and a briefcase with an anomalous radiation scanner disguised as a regular laptop. If you discover a real anomaly, your job isn't to catch it, but to call in the containment team and secure a quarantine zone until they arrive. You're simultaneously a spy, a detective, and the first line of defense. The hardest part of your job is the lying. You lie to your fellow cops, who became your friends over the years. You close cases that should have been solved, because the truth is too dangerous for society. From the outside world's perspective, you're just an average federal agent. But your true value to humanity is invisible and immeasurable. You are the person who keeps anomalies from crawling into the morning news. Without a network of thousands of agents like you, the Foundation would be blind. It would only learn about breaches when entire cities started to vanish. If your cop partner, the one you consider a friend, found proof that the Foundation exists, would you wipe his memory with an amnestic, or let him live with that knowledge? From the noisy world of people we descend back underground into the very heart of engineering chaos. Level 4. Containment Specialist, Architect of Cages. Forget about guns and interrogation protocols. Your weapon is a welding torch. A computer with engineering software and an absolute understanding of how to keep the impossible inside four walls. You're a containment engineer, and your job is to design, build, and endlessly repair containment chambers for objects that actively try to escape them. You calculate the thickness of titanium walls, the voltage of electromagnetic fields, and the angle of acid resets and nozzle mounts. Every chamber is a puzzle, because every object is unique. One needs absolute darkness, another needs a constant stream of white noise, a third dissolves every metal except one specific alloy, whose formula is known to 3 people on the planet. You feel a constant vibration in the floor, because beneath you are the reactors powering the Keter containment systems. If one of them goes offline for even 30 seconds, the consequences would be catastrophic. Your hands are always covered in minor burns and cuts from endless welding under extreme conditions. You're not the hero with a rifle. You're the one who builds the castle that the dragon must never escape. From the combat personnel's perspective, you're that guy with the wrench. But without you, every guard and director is powerless, because someone has to build the prison first. And only then can you talk about how to guard it. You are the last physical barrier between an anomaly and the apocalypse. If a Keter containment chamber cracked open right now, and replacing the panel required 6 hours of work, 2 feet, less than a meter from a creature that kills with a glance, would you put on a welding mask and walk in? From the thunder of the repair workshops we ascend into the silence of offices, where decisions cost lives. Level 5. Senior Research. You've endured decades of work, outlived colleagues, buried friends, and you know more about the inner workings of anomalies than anyone on Earth. Your clearance, Level 3. Secret. You lead entire research teams and coordinate experiments on multiple objects simultaneously. You are the person the Foundation turns to when standard containment procedures stop working. You personally approve testing protocols that involve sending Class D personnel into chambers they will probably never return from. Every signature is someone's fate. You know that without these experiments, the Foundation cannot develop new containment methods. But that knowledge doesn't make your nights any easier. You sleep with the lights on, because you know what exactly hides in the dark. Your unique value is an intuition that cannot be programmed. You sense when an object changes its behavior before the instruments even register it. You notice patterns between objects that at first glance have nothing in common. From the junior staff's perspective, you're a legend, a walking encyclopedia of nightmares. But to the Foundation, you are an irreplaceable resource, and losing you would cost decades of accumulated knowledge. Imagine you've discovered that too. Keter-class objects are communicating through their chamber walls on a frequency the Foundation doesn't monitor, and they're coordinating an escape. You have the proof, but management thinks you're paranoid. What do? From the laboratory where you spent years collecting fragments of the impossible, we step into the office where a single decision determines the fate of thousands. Level 6. Site Director. Absolute responsibility. You no longer study anomalies, you command an entire underground city where they are imprisoned. Jour Clearance. Level 4. Top Secret. You're responsible for budgets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, for the lives of thousands of employees, and for dozens of anomalies, each one capable of triggering an end-of-the-world event. You personally approve every request for the deployment of Class D personnel. You personally decide which scientists get access to which objects. And you personally bear responsibility for every containment breach that occurs on your territory. Your morning begins with a report on overnight incidents and ends with a call to headquarters, where you answer to people whose real names you'll never know. The red phone on your desk is a direct line to the O5 Council. It rings only in 2 cases: when they issue an order, or when you report a catastrophe. But the most terrifying thing in your office is the control panel beneath the desk. It activates the Alpha Warhead, a nuclear charge buried deep beneath the foundation of your site. If everything collapses, you turn the key and destroy everything. The scientists, the guards, the anomalies, yourself. From your subordinates' perspective, you're a cold bureaucrat who signs death warrants over breakfast. But your real function is to be the last fail-safe between the inner hell of the site and the outside world. You don't save the people inside, you save 7 billion people outside. Here's your question. If the alarms were blaring, containment chambers were breached, and on the monitors you could see your people being torn apart by anomalies, would you have the will to turn the nuclear key? From an office soaked in sleeplessness and the weight of impossible decisions, we ascend to the final floor, the one no elevator leads to. Level 7. 05, Council Member. The shadow over the world. You no longer exist. No name, no face, no biography. You are a number 05 to 7, or 05 to 3, or any other number. From 1 to 13, you are one of 13 people who control the entire SCP Foundation across planet Earth. Your clearance, Level 5. Daume el absolute. Unrestricted access to all information that has ever existed within the Foundation's databases. You know about every object, every incident, every secret the Foundation hides from humanity. You are strictly forbidden from approaching any anomaly because you are too valuable to risk. You never leave a fortified bunker whose location is known only to the other 12 council members. You make decisions that determine whether humanity will exist tomorrow. You vote on deploying Daumio-class anomalous objects so powerful that the Foundation uses them to contain others even more dangerous. You decide which entire sites to destroy, which populations to strip of their memories, which discoveries to bury forever. You play chess against other secret organizations. The Chaos Insurgency, the Church of the Broken God, the Group of Interests, Marshall, Carter, and Darken. And every move you make shifts the balance of power in the world. From the rest of the Foundation's perspective, you're not even human. You are a concept, a number on a directive, a voice in an encrypted channel. No one knows what you look like. And some Foundation employees genuinely believe that the O5 Council is an artificial intelligence or a collective consciousness. But your value is absolute. Without 13 like you, the Foundation would shatter into 1,000 warring factions, each pulling the blanket to their own side. You are the single point where all the threads converge. Final question. If the other 12 council members voted to activate a protocol that would save humanity but at the cost of destroying all of reality as we know it, replacing it with something else entirely, would you cast your 13th vote for or against? Author's brief. You've just walked the path from a nameless man in an orange jumpsuit to a shadow controlling the fate of civilization. 7 levels that showed you every facet of the most detailed fictional organization in the history of the internet. Every rank is not just a title, but an existential choice between humanity and necessity. Now, here are the facts you should know. The term Class D first appeared in the earliest SCP articles back in 2007 and 2008, and originally implied monthly termination of test subjects. But the author community later reinterpreted this as disinformation within the Foundation itself. The character D9341 is the protagonist of the cult game SCP Containment Breach, which launched in and remains one of the most popular horror games of all time. The famous SCP-999 is the only object considered completely benevolent. It's an orange slime mass that induces euphoria and laughter in anyone who touches it. The most famous researcher in SCP lore is Dr. Bright, whose consciousness is permanently trapped in the anomalous amulet SCP-963, and fan theory holds that he's immortal because his mind transfers into the body of anyone who touches the amulet. The SCP universe contains over 30 groups of interest organizations that compete with the Foundation for control over anomalies, including the Chaos Insurgency, the Horizon Initiative, and the Global Occult Coalition. As of today, the SCP Wiki holds over 8,000 unique objects, written by thousands of authors in dozens of languages, making it one of the largest collaborative fiction projects in the history of humankind.